Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome to Ultimate Admiral Age of Sail. If you're a veteran of my other channel, you've undoubtedly seen this game already, but now that it is out and fully released, it is time for a bit more of a review-style video of this, the first nautical entry in the Ultimate series from Games Labs, who, by the way, are probably the sole shining hope remaining in the field of historical strategy games, so God bless those little bastards, absolutely. We'll have a quick look at the feature list, and then we'll dive into the game itself. You've got custom battles, where you can choose a nation, and then set up your own fleet versus an enemy fleet. You've got straight-up battles, which are pre-made scenarios, and you've got the meat of the game, the campaigns. Rule the Waves, the British campaign, where you take on the role of Admiral Horatio Nelson. Don't Tread on Me, the US War of Liberation and Independence, and the Barbary War, which is a DLC. I gotta say, too, balls of brass on Game Labs, taking on the Arab slave trade in this day and age. I mean, I have literally been told straight up that it didn't exist, so good on them. Now, the Barbary War, I gotta give them a little bit of salt for this one too, by the way, because this DLC was developed whilst the game was in early access. The game wasn't out yet, and they still use resources on making a DLC. No, bad. Very bad. Finish the game first, then work on the DLC. A bit of general criticism, honestly, on Games Lab. They've got way too many projects in the work. What, they've got, I think, 3 or 4 titles in the work right now for a relatively small studio. Hell, a certain naval action game still isn't in what I would consider a truly playable state, so if I may be so bold, slightly fewer projects, a little bit more snap and polish on the ones you do have, okay? Then again, they are pretty much the best and the brightest in the terms of historical strategy right now, so I guess I've got to temper my critique on that particular point. Now then, let's have a look at the Barbary Campaign, shall we? And here we are in the Strait of Gibraltar and beyond, where the US waged a war against the Barbary pirates. This is a rather interesting little part of US history, by the way, because the US figured that, okay, you know, we've got our independence now, Britain doesn't seem to be threatening us overmuch immediately, so now we should be a disarmed nation. We're not going to waste people's taxpayer money on a navy and army and all that nonsense, because we don't need it. Then American shipping started to get seized by the Barbary pirates, and white Americans were taken as slaves and shipped off to the Arab slave market, or if they were really lucky, they were ransomed off back to America. At which point the US figured, okay, maybe we do need a fleet after all. This was a pretty shining campaign in the US Navy's history too, and it's really cool to see that in-game format, as it's a piece of history often cruelly overlooked, in my opinion. Now, Ultimate Admiral Age of Sail has both land and naval combat, and when it comes to the naval nonsense, you've got everything all the way down from sloops up to ships of the line, and with the Barbary Campaign, also these little Mediterranean galley-style things. Interesting little ships, though the peculiarities of their design doesn't really, you know, come into its own due to the way the campaign is carried out. These ships were more coastal vessels, really, rather than open sea stuff, and they were actually, in many cases, better than the larger warships when you had to deal with the more shallow waters of the Mediterranean. Each ship comes, of course, with several types of guns. The guns you can place on a ship depends upon its size and its weight allowance. You can see here the weight. The weight is also used for crew and for upgrades. You can add on a double hull frame, for example, but you see, that will eat up way too much of the capacity of the ship. If you could add it, though, that's 20% armor, which is really, really nice. In this case, the USS Patriarchy already has gun block and tackles to decrease the reload time, as it's armed with rather massive 24-pounder Armstrong cannons with a pretty damn hefty reload time, so Yeah, 10% is worth it here. You can see the damage of the guns, the reload time, the range, the accuracy, the smaller number the better, and the weight of the cannons. You've then also got a series of 9-pounder Armstrongs as well on this ship, with a total of 60 guns. Then you've got a little bit of a smaller one here, the USS Whinge, which is equipped with a single deck's worth of 9-pounder Armstrongs, and then little 6-pounder brass guns on this one. Just like in the Ultimate series, there is also the availability to pick various weaponry. For example, let's say, and this might not be actually a bad idea, I wanted to have this ship, which is kind of small and nippy, equipped with carronades. They're essentially the nautical equivalent of massive goddamn shotguns, which do a ton of damage at close range, but that armor penetration falls off quickly to the point that they are completely useless at long ranges. They can be quite a lot of fun to use on smaller vessels initially in the early game, though when you start to run into larger ships, God, it's gonna be driftwood awfully quickly. The crew can also be equipped with a variety of musketry weaponry, including adding on bayonets and sword bayonets to give them a bit of an edge in melee. You also need to equip the crew with officers. The size of the officer pool is dependent upon the size of the ship. So USS Brown only has 3, whereas the USS Grill has 4, and the Patriarchy has 5. You, of course, also have to pay for all of this, so you've got gold and reputation, with reputation being used here mostly for the various purchases and for research instead of aid packages like in Ultimate General Civil War. Since this is the Barbary Campaign, a lot of this has already been unlocked. It might give you access to new guns, new upgrades, and also stocks of weapons. For example, if I were to buy this one here, that should give me access to Baker rifles. See if we can find those here. I do wish they give you a nice little preview of whatever you're trying to unlock, because I have no idea what I just bought. Let's see. Ah, there we go. The Baker rifle. Well, its efficiency looks absolutely amazing. The reload is god awful, and the melee is not staggering, but not dreadful either. 37 per second reload to 57, but the efficiency is night and day, basically. Not bad at all. Now, after having unlocked them, though, I still have to actually purchase them, so that's another thing. In this case, you know what I'm thinking? No, I'll keep the bayonets on that one, actually, but I think I might equip the Patriarchy. No, the Chesapeake, actually. No? You've got the stats over here. They've got about the same boarding, actually. Never mind. I shan't bother then. And you can also sell off the stuff you captured. For example, you might capture ships, which gives you trophies, which you can either sell for prestige, or you can use the prestige to add them to your fleet as well. Pretty damn cool. Now then, let's jump on into a battle here, and then we'll discuss another really cool new feature as well. Oh, on that note as well, this one is an element of it. They've added in more of a customizable form of difficulty, which is really, really neat. Before each mission, you are allowed to say that, okay, maybe you're struggling, right? So you can pay some money on reputation to make the mission easier. That's a cool option. Or you can say, I'm a badass. I want more money, more prestige, and then you're going to give me a tougher fight, right? So let's give that a go and load it up. Now, one of the really cool features that I'm really liking is the addition of adaptable versus non-adaptable difficulty. In previous Ultimate General Civil War in particular, there was one feature that irked me immensely. We've got a fleet of American trade ships here that need a little bit of protecting. Connecticut and Maryland. Looks like you've already got some protection there, though. Right, let's see here. This is a bit of a derpy formation. I was hoping they might come in line. We've got a large number of enemy galleys over here, but nothing particularly large or dangerous right now. So the Connecticut and the Maryland seem to already be breaking off to try and protect the little transport ships here. Right, where's the wind? There's the wind, right? The wind is of absolute paramount importance, to put it mildly. Being, well, the age of sail, the sails need wind. If you're trying to go against the wind, you are in all due likelihood going to be very, 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 very sad very, very, very quickly. It also affects the different ranges, as you can see here. The wind is currently hitting my sails from this direction, tipping the ship over, lifting the gun deck on this side, giving it vastly improved accuracy over here, whilst vastly decreasing the accuracy on this side. You can, of course, also drop anchor in time to even that out a little bit. Anywho, whilst we watch the beautiful form of USS's Patriarchy sail by here, let me get back on the idea of the adoptable difficulty. In Ultimate General Civil War, you could do as well as you wanted. You could engage the filthy northerner dogs as the brave, good people of the Confederacy, la la la, and you could wipe out their entire army. You killed 10,000 Union soldiers. That was all they had in the field. And you're feeling good about yourself, like, yay, this is a serious victory. Everything's going to be easier from now on. I'm going to get a good reward from the homeland. It's going to be great. Then, the moment you end that turn to move on to the next stage of the campaign, you are informed that the Union states have received 13,000 veteran troops, which they presumably just simply pulled out from their cavernous anuses. In fact, no matter how big a victory you got, you would only be even worse outnumbered the next time around, until you arrived at the point in the campaign where it was actually beneficial to ignore side missions. Because no matter how ridiculously one-sided your victory was, you'd only end up giving the enemy more reinforcements. That was very dumb. That was very dumb. And Ultimate Admiral Age of Sail has a little bit of the same problem. Whereas the, for example, in the British campaign, I've tried out both the adaptive and the non-adaptive now. You might be able to capture a big ship, right? You've captured yourself a third-rate ship of the line. You're like, yay, a big, big boat. I've got a big boat now. I'm happy. And then the next mission, the AI is like, yeah, that's a pretty boat you've got there. I have one just like it now. What? Why? The problem is you can also purchase boats. Say that you buy a fifth rate and you're like, yes, this will really decimate those little pathetic sloops and shit I've been fighting so far. Yeah, it would if the AI didn't then just immediately get another one, leaving the whole purchasing ship thing kinda pointless. When you turn adoptive AI off, it no longer does that, which in certain regards makes the game easier, and in others it actually makes it harder. It makes it easier because you no longer have to worry about the fact that the enemy will just magically teleport yet further warships into the area. They will have to fight with whatever they've got on hand at that point in time. However, it also means that the AI is only going to have what it would normally have at that point in time. Which seems self-evident, but here's the thing. If the campaign is designed to just give the enemy a bunch of sloops or sixth rates, the only thing you will be able to capture is sloops and sixth rates. And so when you end up in a mission early on in the British campaign, where you have to take on, I believe, 5 ships, 2 in the first wave, then 2 more, and then 1 third rate, all of those ships facing you are both bigger, more heavily armed and armored, and have more crew than any ship you have or have had any chance of getting up until that point in the campaign. Which makes that mission an absolute hell. Oh boy, it ain't easy. It is not easy in the slightest at that point. God, no. it gets very nasty very quickly. But hey, again, in that case, you could just pay some money to make it easier if you're really struggling. And to be fair as well, the game does give you fire ships, and you are kind of intended to use the fire ships to deal with the enemy. But, you know, being a greedy bastard, I see a bunch of ships I've never seen before and go, Gibbs now, please. So it has both benefits and downsides. What I would like to say, if I were to be, again, little greedy bastard, is an option to choose. Don't just give me yes or no, on or off. Allow me to go, right, I want some scaling, but I don't want the full scaling. I want only like 50% scaling, for example. I want the enemy to be able to have larger ships, but I still want to be rewarded for grabbing that powerful third rate. And so instead of the enemy just simply having third rates afterwards, maybe they only still have, you know, fifth rates or fourth rates for at least 1 or 2 missions more, something like that. Now, I imagine it would kind of be difficult to scale that well due to the differing power and potential of these ships, but a nice little point system, for example, would probably do a relatively good job of that, I imagine. Holy shit, that's a lot more ships that suddenly appeared there. That is a lot more ships. The Barbary pilots have numbers, that is for absolutely certain. So, you can see here that the Patriarchy has gotten into a firing position. I'm using the wind to tip over its broadside a little bit now, so as to give myself a bit of increased range against these vessels up here. The Maryland and the, what was it, the Connecticut is already in the fight. Now, the Chesapeake is lagging a little behind, as you can see here, but it too should be in range very, very, very soon. I'm tempted to turn it in a little bit to give it a range, but no, this is fine. We're rescuing the transport ships, which is the primary purpose of our little visit here anyway, so this is all good and dandy. There you go, there goes the broadside volley. This is pretty extensive range, so, you know, hitting anything at this range is more luck so than skill or gunnery, frankly, but I want to get nice and close before we need to start turning into the wind to potentially advance on them again. Oh, the Maryland is on fire. That is non-ideal. Oh, the USS Star Trek sneaking up on their bumholes right here, which is rather excellent. We'll turn her in. I believe, what is she? A sloop or something? 6th sloop of war, yes. So she is fairly nifty, which is nice. We're going to have her come in close. The damage you do is dependent upon the weapon you have equipped and also where you hit the enemy. If you hit them in the broadside, you might be able to knock out crew, you might be able to damage guns, and you're also going to be damaging the armor of the ship, indicated by the red health bar here. The blue is the flooding and the yellow is the health of the vessel. So you can see that you get these various icons popping up here, indicating the damage done. Now, if you want to see some real damage, then what you need to do is either get straight ahead of a ship or right behind it. Behind it being best of all, as then you have a nice flat stern there. If you can pummel a volley of shots into that, the round shot will travel the entire length of the ship, wreaking absolute havoc and horror on its path. Very, very, very effective. You can also kind of start to see why this is a more advanced campaign here, because this is a lot of goddamn boats. It is an awful lot of boats. Now, the USS Brown has gotten quite far up here, which is good. Let's have that turn on in. And you can, of course, change up the speed in case you need to slow it down a little bit, which might be a good idea on occasion. Alright, then our 2 main ships are moving up in the front here. You can also knock out sails. You've got 3 types of ammunition, though I gotta say this is one thing they haven't really changed enough in my opinion, as a round shot kinda remains the only one that's particularly useful. Round shot will deal damage to everything it hits, and deal that damage fairly effectively as well. It'll kill crew, it'll damage armor, it'll do a ton of health damage, you can sort of see there. And is fairly effective, and it's got a great range. Meanwhile, chain shot, which is designed to be used against sails, feels kind of useless most of the time, honestly. I've tried to use it again and again, and I just don't get any real effect out of it. It feels like it's just way better to hammer the enemy's hull, killing crew, doing damage to armor, knocking out guns, than it is to try and deal with the ship's sails. Then you've got Grape Shot. Now, Grape Shot has been buffed at least a little bit, which is good, because Grape Shot was kinda useless for a while. It's still not as good as I think it maybe should be, but it's a lot better than it was, which is nice. Now then, we're getting a nice angle on this ship here, so I'm gonna make them hold fire. I'm gonna get in really nice and close. I'm going to start turning the USS Star Trek here, named so because it used to be the USS Enterprise. And then I'm going to target it, and I'm going to specifically tell them to aim at the stern, right like that. There we are. Drop anchor. And fire me, laddies. If everything goes to plan, there you go. Look at that. Because the round shot is able to travel the entire length of the ship, I gave it shock, crew shock. I disabled its gun crew for a time, and I destroyed its pumps, and I did massive morale damage to the crew, to the point that it might just surrender now. I found it far more difficult to make ships surrender as well since the release of the full game, which I'm not a huge fan out of. We're a little bit back to the days where it seems like the only way to get a ship to surrender is either to turn it into just goddamn driftwood, or to surround it with so many vessels as to make it just not really matter anyways. You need to kill practically the entire crew before the bastards go, you know, maybe this is just a bad idea. Maybe we just bloody surrender at some point. Now, we're gonna do a nice slow pass here. We're gonna focus on Iqbal Bar, and we're gonna rip that ship a new one. Now, in reality, you don't actually want to be sinking ships, partially because you want to be seizing them as prizes, because that's money, potentially, or it's prestige, which are all good things. But you do need to give crew over to the ship you capture, and I don't really want all that many more little galleys, frankly. I've got a galley already, and I don't think I need any more, to be honest, so I don't want to capture them. But at the same time, if you kill them, something very, very dumb happens. You see, the crew is then able to jump into lifeboats, which makes a certain degree of sense, absolutely. But what does not make sense is that they are then allowed to simply row on over to another vessel and reinforce it as if it was bloody nothing. I've actually had ships go from being almost dead to being full strength again because I was silly enough to sink other vessels previously on. And so I think a grand total of 400 men climbed aboard the ship I was desperately grape-shotting and trying to deal with. Kind of annoying, to put it mildly. Oh, there we go. It finally surrendered. There we are. Nice, nice, nice. It's sinking, though, so I have no particular interest in seizing that ship. That doesn't, frankly, seem entirely worth it, if I'm to be honest. I'm going to turn in the Chesapeake here to try and pursue that ship some more. And I'm probably going to have the Patriarchy concentrate on the Ayat-i-Hayir here. Now, the lead ship, I think I might just try to board and knock out of the battle that way. When as you, I'm going to just tell you to do the AI nonsense for now. Whilst the USS Hinge, let's see, can I drop anchor here and have you be in a position to fire? That's probably going to be too far, isn't it? Yeah, let's move you in a little bit closer. Whilst the USS Star Trek is still in a position to fire, so I'm simply going to let it do that. Now, it's not all gunnery duels, of course. That is a very important part of the game. I'm going to tell this ship to match speed with the Ayat-i-Hayir, so I can try and make sure we continue bombing that into the ground. And I'm probably going to start turning this ship as well. You can also, which I'm going to do here in a second. Ooh, that was a good volley. That was a very good volley. I'm going to switch over to Grape Shot here. I'm going to drop the anchor because I'm right in front of it right now. So the next volley is going to be quite dangerous. Unless it, you know, does something intelligent and begins to turn, which is downright cheating if you ask me. There you go. Let's give it a little bit of a high aim there to try and rake the deck. There you go. A little bit better. Now, as you can see, that does deal some decent manpower damage, because I am firing at it straight from the front right now. But as you saw also previously with the round shot does almost as much damage. The primary benefit of round shot is that it doesn't do as much damage to the ship itself, and if you want to be seizing it, you don't want to be necessarily slaughtering the entirety of the ship or just destroying it completely. 6-pounder guns are hammering into me. Let's give it another nice big volley there. Cruise shock, very nice. That means it is going to be unable to do anything for a little bit of time here. They seem to have derped out a little bit. The AI has gotten better at maneuvering, I will say that much. But it still struggles a little bit. Why are you... Oh. Apparently I told it to stop moving, that's dumb. It struggles a bit when it's got too many ships. I think the problem is here, because Ultimate Admiral Dreadnought does this way better, even though that is in very early access at the moment, where the ships almost never get in each other's way. And I think a lot of the reason why it happens still quite a lot in Age of Sail is because of the wind. The wind is constantly changing the speed at which a ship is able to travel. And so, it's constantly trying to update where it needs to be and where it needs to go so as to not ram its friends, basically. Now, the problem with that is that since it's not perfect at dealing with that just yet, you still end up in situations like this where the lead ship gets into a derpy position. Oh, you're done. Gets into a derpy position, and so it blocks all of the other ships from following it up. I'm not actually sure I want this ship, frankly, but the thing is, if I just leave it like this, it's going to eventually start rebelling against me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the Star Trek come on over here and try and pick it up for me, whilst I'm just going to start hitting the Kadi Zavir here. The Ayat Ahar is getting absolutely pounded from the stern even by a much larger, much heavier warship, so it's having a very bad day. You can see that my two allied warships as well have gotten themselves into a little bit of a tarded position there. Should actually be able to deal with all of this before the enemy warships even get to me, which is quite nice indeed. The basic gameplay loop consists primarily of this, and despite a little bit of derp with the AI here and there, it's pretty damn good. And there's a lot of missions available in the campaign, so you're not going to get tired of it anytime soon. There are some missions that are kinda just dumb. For example, there are escort missions. Oh, here we'll get a nice demonstration of the whole boarding thing. There are escort missions which require you to have a ship go from point A to point B on a map much like this, just a vast, empty ocean. Now, escort missions are often boring inherently because, well, you're just escorting a thing, usually a useless thing that can't fight, from point A to B. It's difficult to make that all that much fun, frankly. But it gets even worse when you have to do that whilst not having any options as to where to go. On a flat map like this, with no islands, no terrain, nowhere to hide, nowhere to go, the only option available to you is to point the ship you are trying to escort in the rough general direction of the escape route and hit the triple forward speed button and wait. And that's practically the end of your involvement at that point. Unless you want to be fancy and try to actually seize some enemy vessels, that is. It's not a great game mode for a game like this, in my opinion, and it probably wouldn't lose out on anything if they just didn't do those missions, honestly. A little bit of a derpy position here. Let's try to turn these ships in and anchor them up. Amundsen, that's a Norwegian name, by the way. That's why he's got the balls to just row out in the open sea like that to capture an enemy vessel. No other nationality would have the balls to do so. Definitely not the Danish. The Danish are bad people. Just to reiterate that. Though, to be fair, I guess they were fairly good sailors around this point in time. Is this before or after the British burned their entire navy at anchor, though? What was it, 1802? I can't quite remember. My Napoleonic War history is not what it used to be, frankly. And these little things are pretty darned bone here. Oh, the Ikbar Bar has lost one of its masts. That's darnedly unfortunate, but not the worst thing ever. Let's just try and get that out of the way. And there goes the Faith-i Bahiri as well. And the Qaidi Zafir should not be far behind it. I'm not going to bother capturing either of these two because, well, they're leaking. And they're probably just going to sink. And I'm not going to put my brave little American dudes aboard a sinking vessel for no reason. That just seems dumb. Now, we've had a nice long look at the naval combat, so let's also have a peek at some land combat, shall we? Bunker Hill. You can't beat the classics now, can you? In the campaign, there will be several land battles as well, and you can equip your ground-based soldiery much like you can your naval lads, with a variety of muskets and also officers. It only has 3 types of units, though. It's a little disappointing. You've got, or actually, no, excuse me, it's 4, isn't it? It's Marines, which does what, you know, the name says. You've got, in fact, these guys here, I believe, are Marines. Then you've got regular infantry, then you've got light skirmish infantry, and you've got grenadiers. The AI also has access to a bit of cavalry, which you don't get a whole lot of, and of course you've got the usual artillery. You've got mortars and you've got cannons. The mortars and cannons are fairly low numbers because you'll be doing most of the stuff on the sea, of course. The focus on the game is absolutely on the naval aspect, and so the land combat suffers a little bit, in my opinion, due to it. Now, in usual in Ultimate General style, fortifications are by and large a death trap, but for RP reasons, we'll hold on to them for now. I'm also currently getting shelled by the British Navy, which is a hint unfortunate. You also don't have access to grape shot with your cannons anymore, which is something I consider to be very, very sad, because grape shot was awesome. Although the way it worked in Ultimate General Civil War was also really, 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 really dumb. In that you could grape shot straight through your own men with seemingly very little, if any, ill effects whatsoever. That was a little bit dumb. In fact, it was very dumb, in fact. Right, we've got a unit of British Grenadiers here advancing on a bunch of irregulars. Just good old-fashioned Americans with rifles. Well, there you go. We shall flank those. Getting hit in the flank is, of course, always an unfortunate happenstance, and so it is a happenstance here that you wish to grant the enemy as often and as liberally as humanly possible. Let's see, the 4th Grenadiers, they're getting engaged here by a little bit of scattered musketry fire. Now, I am in cover, which gives me a certain degree of an advantage. You don't have the full-on dumb Ultimate General Civil War things here, where cover simply just means that your units will be scattered across a much larger area than if they weren't in cover, which in return really just reduces their amount of firepower and allows multiple enemy units to shoot you. That was a very dumb design decision. Here, they, first and foremost, they fire continuously, as you can see, which is actually really damn useful for whittling down enemy units, and they do gain a bit more of an actual defensive bonus, which is very nice. Unfortunately, the Grenadiers have not yet been convinced to pack it in and call it a day. Brave little lads. For tea drinkers, at least. But they're about to get shot at in the rear as well, so I'm thinking, yep, they agree with me. This is starting to get a little bit hot and heavy right here. There you go. Good old-fashioned flanking fire, always useful. Let's start moving those up and just collapsing this entire little British line, shall we? That's what you get for underestimating a bunch of angry armed Americans. It's a fatal misunderstanding? Underestimation, there you go. Now, unfortunately, you also see that the condition of my barricades deteriorates as it gets hit by cannon fire. Weird, right? Cannons seem to be effective against fortifications. Who'da thunk it? Very unfortunate, though. Okay, we are in fact getting into a position where we can bother the enemy's artillery as well, which is very nice. Now I'm going to have these guys, they're going to on the double. Tea drinkers have rallied, most unsportsmanlike of them. And these guys, we're going to push them right up against the coast here. Yes, yes! Screw the tea drinkers and their filthy nonsense. To be fair, the Americans drank a lot of tea at this point as well, which, you know, just shows you how far they have come, frankly. The attack upon the hills are not really getting much done. I seem to have a supply wagon here. That would be nice. There's another thing that I keep requesting that we haven't seen yet, but you can draw out the path of units, which is a neat little mechanic, but I really, really wish there was a way to just simply order a unit to follow the roads, for example. That would be very, very useful. Oh, I hear the sound of melee. Apparently, I don't know whether it was because... I think it was just because they walked into them, because I'm pretty sure I didn't charge them here. Alright, let's try and toss in some more irregulars into the 4th foot here. And we'll move up these guys to make sure that even if the 13th, what, Massachusetts Regiment, probably, a break, and we can take care of that. Nicely done, nicely done. We have routed the enemy in front of our positions. Great. And they've chased them off, and they're probably going to chase them off as well, but now they're routing too. Excellent. Ooh, well, as for all the benefits of angry Americans with guns, regular trained soldiery can still be effective, as it turns out, sadly. Lieutenant House McClips is killed. Oh no, not Hose. Not Hose. Not Hose and his hose. It's in a little bit of a derpy position here. So, you can draw out advances like this, which can be very useful, though with the way units react now and the far smaller unit sizes, you don't get to carry out quite the kind of sweeping maneuvers that you did in Ultimate General Civil War anywhere near as much. So, again, I would just really like to be able to see like a quick little button down here that says, just stick to the roads. Move along roads. Because that would make things a lot easier. There goes that tiny little unit of Marines. They were not long for this world. There was only 45 of them after all. Now, I would very much so like it if I could properly surround this unit here, 4th foot, so that I didn't have to chase them all over the place. If you can surround an enemy unit and give them no good way to escape, they will surrender. But getting them to do that is a little bit tricksy. Right, my barricades here have been destroyed. I am running out of ammo as well, which is not great. The British are trading very, very well. As you can see, my poor irregulars are dying much quicker than the British are, which again is the unfortunate problem with a professional army versus an irregular one. It's often not what you would call a straight-up fair fight, really. Oh, did you just... Oh, are you route? Oh, no, you're routing. Okay, oh, never mind. I thought they might have charged me or something, but I think actually we might be able to get them to surrender here, because they're going to be kind of limited in where they can actually go at this point. Right, they're trapped up against the coast. The AI is having a hard time actually figuring out what to do here. It's like, darn it. They're surrendering. Maybe. No, they're not surrendering. Well, what are we going to do then? Shall we walk away from them? No, no, you shouldn't. Just, there you go. Keep pushing them. Keep pushing them. Well, it seems the tea drinkers have decided to simply just die instead of surrendering. Right, well, I mean... that's an option as well. That is an option as well. Perhaps not the one I'd chosen personally, but it certainly is an option. Oh, God. The defensive positions up here are not doing great. Not at all. Let's try and reform something that vaguely resembles a fighting line. I probably should have pulled back the artillery already, because the artillery was being outshot by the infantry. That is the problem with not having grape shot. Once the infantry gets nice and close, you're gonna lose a straight-up fight, because there's gonna be 215 people shooting the one way, and, like, 50 people shooting the other. The simple yet thoroughly ruthless laws of military math. I really want to deal with this artillery battery. I mean, I've come all the way here. I'd really like to deal with that before I get completely screwed out here. Right, you guys pull back a little bit. I'll reform a little bit of front line here. I've got another supply train. Well, lovely. The first one isn't even halfway to the front, but, you know, it is the thought that counts, I do suppose. Some Marines here. I was really hoping to maybe draw them in and then hit them in the flanks, but, well, let's turn everything around. We've got 4 units firing into the 63rd Foot, which hopefully will encourage them to go the other way. And we've got these units fresh from dealing with the enemy coming up. First Royal Marines are advancing up the hill, presumably to try and retake their artillery, maybe. I'm going to take a lot of beating in the flank for that, though. I'm taking a little bit of a beating in the flank myself as well. Ah, darn. In the words of Sevatar Loth, all that discipline and order and loyalty and stuff is dreadfully boring stuff, but it does make for certain benefits when it comes to fighting. Yes, I know I butchered that, but I'm busy not dying. The point is, it's useful to be trained in fighting if you're gonna do it. Though, I did manage to turn the 63rd Foot, which is very nice, because that will probably allow me to turn the 5th Foot as well. Hopefully. Another volley from the 1st. There we are. Excellent. Right, now let's reorder their front line. Uh-oh, right. Countercharge that. And let's keep shooting these. Ooh, thank you very much. Right, so the guys on the beach, they fought to the last man, refusing to surrender to a bunch of dirty, filthy American hicks with muskets. Whereas these guys, they literally ran to surrender. They ran into me to give up. Huh. Maybe they're not quite so disciplined after all. Maybe, maybe. Right, you need to keep these away again. They're probably going to break my line on the southern end here, but that's fine, so long as I can stabilize this frontage. And I think we're doing it. Yes, we are. Right. It's a more basic land combat system than in Ultimate General Civil War, which it kind of disappoints me. Now, it's a new engine, and so clearly they've changed a lot of things. They've changed a lot of things up, and that has changed a bunch of the well, their availability of stuff, basically. You know, they couldn't just add in everything, I guess, but the land combat, it's a definitive step down. I'm not going to go so far as to say it's bad, because it's serviceable for what it is, but it's not as good as the naval combat, and it's not as good as the Ultimate General's land combat. So, all in all, I feel like, to bring some conclusions to bear here, I feel like this game is kinda, how do I put it? It's kind of an in-between title, almost. It's the first title in which they do naval warfare, and so that was clearly the main focus of it, right? Makes a lot of sense, right? I wish you would just take the bloody roads. That would make you a lot quicker. But due to their focus on the naval combat, they ended up not being able to make it quite as combined arms as we might have wanted. The land side ended up paying a price for it. Now, meanwhile, Ultimate Admiral Dreadnought is also heading in this direction, of course, and it has gotten even a better grasp on the naval combat, according from what I've seen in the early access so far. Why on God's good earth are you wandering out there? That is just silly. And it's also supposed to have a Grand Campaign map. Now that's very interesting. So it kind of feels like Games Labs is working up towards more of an overall combined experience at some point in time. Like this was the prototype of the naval combat. They were testing out the AI, testing out the functions, testing out how the shells might work, etc. And they touched up a little bit of land combat as well, just to see if they could do it. And they had the same usual static campaign of a series of missions. All right. And now they're also working on a campaign map. Maybe we will be so blessed as to in the future see a Grand Campaign, Ultimate General style game with the best of naval and land combat unified along with a grand strategy element. Boy, I mean, we sure can hope, can't we? But that is, of course, a bit in the future, isn't it? For now, is Ultimate Admiral Age of Sail worth your money? I think so, yes. Though bearing in mind, if you're looking for land combat, you are clearly far better off going to Ultimate General Civil War. It'll scratch that itch far more expertly than this game will, let's be fair. But if you're looking for an Age of Sail game, and there really aren't a whole lot of those, like that's not a boom market to put it like that, this is probably one of, if not the best offerings out there. And with 3 campaigns, including the DLC one, which I believe is still free, though you're gonna have to check that on Steam, then this will give you many hours of gameplay. The British campaign alone will probably take you 12, 20 or so hours, maybe. And then you've got the US campaign as well, standard, which will take you another 10, 20 maybe. Yeah, you're gonna get your money's worth out of this, no question about it. And with the ability to change the campaign from adoptive to non-adoptive, you also get to get out of the little bit of massive annoyance, a small massive annoyance, of feeling like you're never really achieving anything. That's a big deal in my opinion. So yeah, definitely. If you are interested in this kind of period combat, Age of Sail, the American War for Liberation, you should absolutely check it out. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.